Today I'm going to be teaching y'all how to work the block stitch using a written pattern. So with the block stitch, each stitch in your pattern counts as 3 actual stitches. So one of the single crochets that your pattern says equals 3 actual double crochets. So my pattern says that there are 40 single crochets. So I know that 40 times 3 is 120. But then I'm going to add 3, so I have 2 for a turning chain and 1 for the turning chain at the other end. So because I have a 40 times 3, it's 120 plus 3, that's 123. So start out by chaining 123, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when you get down to the end, come back. 121, 122, and 123. Okay, so now I have my 123 chains. I am going to double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So count 1, 2, 3. So we're going to double crochet into this stitch here. Okay, and now you're going to double crochet in each chain across. So just continue crocheting all the way down, and you should have a total of 121 crochets, double crochets. I'm just now coming down to the end, making my last 2 double crochets in my chain spaces. Okay, so I have that. So now what you're going to do is you're going to build stitches or foundation rows to build your stitches onto. This is just going to be our foundation row here. So this doesn't count as anything in your pattern. We haven't started reading our pattern yet. So you're going to take an accent color. This accent color is going to go in between all of your stitches. And you won't really be able to see it that well, but you will be able to see it a little bit. So it'd be nice if it's a nice color that contrasts well with it. So what you do is when you get down to the end of making all your double crochets on your foundation row, you're just going to pull up your loop and just leave it sit there. Don't fasten it off, just leave it there. Now you're going to go down to the very beginning where remember we chained we had an extra 2 chains, and then we double crocheted into the 3rd chain from the hook. So this space here, which was our extra chain, we're going to join our accent color. Right there into that space. And I just put a slip knot on my hook, and then I slip stitch into that open space, and I chain 1. That's what I do. Now what you're going to do is you're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and you're going to skip 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and you're going to single crochet into this space right after the 3rd double crochet. Single crochet there and there. So you have this little space that we're going to build. That's what we're going to go into for our stitches according to our pattern. So chain 1, 2, skip 1, 2, 3 stitches, and go into this space right after that 3rd stitch and single crochet. Chain 1, 2, skip 1, 2, 3, and single crochet into that space. So that's what we have. I'm going to work all the way down and then come back. Okay, so I'm getting down to the end here, still skipping my 3 and going single crocheting in that space. Now when you get to the end, we're going to go into that space where we left off our loop. So just single crochet like we've been doing there, and we finish that row. So what you're going to do is you're going to fasten off your accent color. Just cut it off. Fasten it off. So one of the things I don't like about this stitch is because every time you do this row, you just cut this yarn, and I hate cutting yarn because I hate weaving in ends, but it is a pretty stitch. So anyhow, so pick up your yarn back where we left off from the foundation row, and you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And turn your work. Okay, so now we're going to actually start reading our pattern. So Look at our pattern, and whenever you read a pattern in this stitch, you have to read it backwards. So I'm going to go to the last page, and this is my last row. There's 40 rows, so I'm going to read it backwards. It says 40 single crochets in color B. Well, we know I'm not doing single crochets. I'm doing the double crochet. 3 double crochets counts as 1 single crochet. So 40 single crochets in color B. Got my chain 3, and in this space from the chain 2s that we did from the previous round, that's where we're going to make our stitches, just under the space. So do 3 double crochets into that space. 1, 2, 3. That counts as 1 stitch. The pattern said 40 single crochets in B. That's 1 stitch. So now I have to make 39 more of these groups of 3. That's 1. This is 2. That's 2 stitches. 1, 2. Work on my 3rd one. And you're going to go ahead and follow that all the way down to the end. Coming back down to the end again, still continue with my 3 double crochets in each of my chain 2 spaces. All the way down. Okay, that was my last one. So this is the single crochet from the last round. Just move it out of the way, and then we're going to double crochet in the top of this chain here. So just double crochet right there. So on either end of your pattern, you're going to have 1 double crochet or a chain 2, chain 3, whichever end you're on. On this end, it's going to be the double crochet. On this end, it'll be your chain 3 from your turning. And then all your stitches are worked in between those 2 things. So we're back down to the end. We got our double crochet in our chain. We're going to pull up just like we did before. Leave it on there. Don't fasten it off. Grab our accent color back and come back down to the beginning where we started. Alright, we got our accent color back, and we're going to do just like we did before. Join it into this space right there in that hole. Join it with a slip stitch and chain 1. Start doing our chain 2s again. So chain 2, 1, 2, skip 3 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and single crochet in that space in between. Chain 1, 2, skip the 3 double crochets, and single crochet into that space. This accent row counts as nothing as your pattern. Don't count it as a row. It's just basically where we're putting our stitches. It's just adding a little bit more height to our stitches by building them up. So follow that all the way down, just like we did before. Chain 2, skip 3, single crochet into that space. Back down the end again, do my chain 2, and single crochet in that space where we left off. Now we're going to fasten off our accent color. Cut it off, pull it, and then pick up our loop from our main color again. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and turn our work. Okay, now we got to go back to our pattern and see what it says to do. Alright, we did the row 40. Now we're going to do row 39. Row 39 says 40 single crochets in color B. So we're not doing single crochets, we're doing the block stitch. So we have to do 40 times 3 of those. So double crochet 3 times in the chain 2 space. That's 1 stitch. Now we're going to continue all the way down until we have a total of 40 of these groups of 3, because that's what our pattern told us. So go to the next chain 2 space and double crochet 3 times, and that counts as our 2nd stitch. Continue that all the way down. Back down to the end again. Just going to finish putting my 3 double crochets in my last stitch, and then we're going to double crochet in that end chain, and that finishes another row. So we completed another row in our pattern, row 39. Now we put our pattern away. We pull up our loop on our hook, just leave it sit there, no fastening on that one off. Join our accent color again with a slip stitch right here into that space at the back to the beginning. This is where we left off just now. We're pushing it back to the beginning and back over here. So join your yarn with a slip stitch and a chain 1. There we go. Back at it again. Chain 1, 2, skip your 3 stitches here and go in a single crochet right there in that space. Chain 1, 2, skip the 3 double crochets and single crochet into that space all the way to the end. Do my chain 2, 1, 2, and single crochet in that space right there. Now we're going to fasten off our accent color. Okay. Now we're going to pick up our loop again of our main color. Now we're working back with our patterns. We got to pull our pattern back out. We did 40, we did 39, now we're doing row 38. Row 38 again is the same thing, 40 single crochets and bead. So we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, turn. Okay. Now we're going to do our 3 double crochets in each of our chain 2 spaces we did with our accent color. So double crochet 1, 2, and 3. And that completes 1 stitch. Continue that until you have your 40 stitches in color B. Back down at the end again. We're just going to do our 3 double crochets in our last space. And then we're going to double crochet into our chain space, the top of the chain space right here. And that finishes off that row. So we get to mark another row off. We've done the foundation row here, row number 40, row 38, and row 37. So now we're going to pull up on our loop again, just like that. Join our accent color again. Not down here, but down here. And we're going to put a slip stitch right in there, in that space, and chain 1. Okay, so now you chain 2, 1, 2, skip your 3 double crochets again, and single crochet into the space after. Chain 1, 2, skip your 3 double crochets, single crochet in that space. Go all the way down. Chain 2, skip my 3 double crochets, and single crochet into that space right there. We're going to fasten off our accent color. Oops. Yeah. Flip. We're going to pick back our main color back up again. Now we're working on our pattern again. So you pull your pattern back out. We're doing row 37 now. Now, we're working this pattern backwards, but we're not only going to work it backwards, we're going to work it backwards in each row as well. So now that we're to a color change row, we're not going to start here like you normally would. We're going to start over here. Always remember to go backwards. If you don't, it's not going to line up like it's supposed to. So make sure you work backwards. I had to leave myself little notes because I had to pull out every time because I kept thinking to read the right way, and I forgot you're supposed to read it backwards. So just leave little notes if you have to. So now it says 19 single crochets in color B. Okay, so let's try to work on that. We're going to chain our, pick back up our loop. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to turn our work. So we have to work 19 double crochets in color B, or 19 stitches, block stitches in color B. So you're going to double crochet the 3 times, which counts as one of those single crochets that our pattern tells us. Okay, so now we have one of our stitches. So now we have what? 18 more. So you have to make 18 more stitches in color B. Okay, and we have 1, 2 stitches. Now we have to make 17 more stitches in color B. Okay, so now I'm working on my 19th stitch. But before I finish my last double crochet for that stitch, I'm just going to Go through and do all the steps except for the last step. Leave those 2 loops on your hook. And now, what does our pattern tell us? We did the 19 in B, we're going to do 3 in A. So for me, A is orange. So, get my orange. And to finish off this number 19 stitch, I'm going to use this and pull it through. Now that completes the 19th stitch. Now if you see, I don't have 19 stitches here. I'm just working a smaller piece because I've already started on the bigger piece of it. I'm just trying to teach how it's done. So it said 3 stitches in color A. So we're going to do our normal block stitch with 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that counts as 1. So we have to do 2 more in color A. Oops. Okay, now we've done 2 stitches in color B. Let's do our 3rd. And we know that this is our last stitch and we have to go back to a different color, so we're going to work our last double crochet as usual, but leaving the 2 chains on the hook. And now break out your pattern again, and it says we did the 19 in B, 3 in A. Now we have to do 18 in B again. So we're going to join our main color back up again. So let's finish off this last stitch. Pull it through. All right, that's our 3 of our color A. Now we have to do the 18 in color B. So work your 3 double crochets again in each chain 2 space. Yarn's getting tight. Alright, so you work your 19 stitches in color B now. 18 stitches, sorry. Okay, I worked my 19 stitches in my color B. I left my 2 loops in my hook so I can know I can change colors. Look at our pattern again. We did our 19 stitches in color B. Now it says to work 1 in color A. Color A for me is orange. So I'm going to finish off that stitch there with my color B. Now I'm ready to work my 1 stitch in color B. A, sorry. So just like I've been doing, double crochet 3 times in the space. But I can't finish off that because I know I got to change my color back. So I did my 19 here, my 1 in A, back to our pattern. Now it says 20 in color B. So join my B back up on my chain. Finish off that stitch there. So 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. There's 1 of our stitches. So now we have to do 19 more. So 1, 2, and 3. That's 2 stitches. 1, 2 in color B. Now you know I gotta make 18 more. So do your 18 and then come back. And just finishing my number 19 stitch. This is my number 20 stitch. Oopsies. Okay, and just like we've been doing before, we're gonna we finish that off now. We're gonna go back into our chain and do our last double crochet to end the row. We're going to pull up on our hook again, leave it, don't fasten it off, go back down to the beginning. You're going to join your accent color just like you did before, right there in that space, chain 1, and then start your chain twos, 1, 2, and single crochet in that space, just like we've been doing. So I've already started part of this row, so I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. Chain 2, 1, 2, and single crochet in that space. Chain 1, 2, single crochet into that space. Show you when you get down to the color change, you're still doing the same thing. It's just a different color there. Single crochet, chain 1, 2, you skip your 3 double crochets, which was your 1 stitch, and single crochet in that space. Chain 2, skip your 3, single crochet in that space. And just keep down to the end again. Just going to continue like I've been doing. Single crochet into that space right there. All right, you finish off your brown, your accent color, whatever color you chose. And we're going to pick our loop back up where we pulled it from earlier. Okay. Now, chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And we're working back in our pattern again, so we get to pull our pattern back out. All right, we did this row. Now we're going to work on row 36. Remember to read it backwards. So now it says 19 stitches in color B. So again, we did our chain 3, and we're going to start making our stitches under our chain 2 spaces. So double crochet 1, double crochet 2, double crochet 3 equals 1 stitch. We have 18 more to make in color B. So finish your color B in 18 stitches and come back. Finish in my number 19th stitch. Leave my 2 loops on the hook, so I know I got to change colors. Back up my pattern. I did the 19, and now my pattern says 3 single crochets in color A. Okay, color A for me was orange, so here's where my orange was, and I don't like to weave an end, so I do anything I can to avoid it. So I'm just going to pull this over so I can finish off that stitch and get back to have my loop back on for my color A. So it said work 3 stitches in color A. So still working like we were. I just, that piece that's right there, I just work over it because I don't want to have to cut it. 1, 2, 3 double crochets. That's one of our stitches in color A. This is stitch number 2. 1, 2, 3. Now I know you can see that piece right there. If you don't like that, you can cut it and tie it off. But if that's the price I pay for not having to weave in one end, then I pay it, because you won't even be able to tell anyways. So I got my 1, 2 in color A. I'm going to finish with my color A, my 3rd stitch in color A. Alright, so leave the 2 loops on your hook. Look back at our pattern. Our pattern says we did our 3 in A. We have to do 18 in color B. So join your color A back on, or color B, I'm sorry, color B back on, finishing off that stitch there. Now we're ready to work our 18 in color B. 1, 2, 3 double crochets there. That's one of our stitches for our 18 stitches. So I got 17 more to work. So continue working that down until you have all your stitches according to your pattern in place. Okay, I'm back down to the end again. I'll put my last stitches in. Okay, I'm going to double crochet to finish off this row in my chain 3. Okay, now I finished another row in my pattern. So we're going to pull back up on our loop, leave it on there. We're not going to fasten it off. We're going to go back to the beginning. We're going to join our accent color at this space here with a slip stitch and a chain 1. Slip stitch, chain 1. Alright, now let's build our row again so we can work our stitches. So chain 1, 2, skip 3, and single crochet into that space. chain 1, 2, skip our 3, and single crochet into that space. Work that till you get to the end of the row. Okay, back down to the end again, doing my chain 2, single crochets right to the end. So I'm going to fasten off my accent color. I'm going to pick back up my main color. Now we're working on the pattern again. So we're going to turn our work, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we got to go look and see what our pattern tells us to do. So we just finished this row, so now we're working on row 35. Remember to read it backwards. Alright, so it says 17 stitches in color B. So let's look at our color B. I don't know what's up with this yarn. We got our color B. We're going to double crochet 3 times in our chain 2 space. 1, 2, 3. Alright, that's 1 stitch. Now we have to make 17 of these total. That's 1, so 16 more. So continue working your stitches in each chain 2 space. Finishing up my last stitch. Okay, I know this is my last stitch in that color, so I gotta leave my 2 loops on my hook. Let's go back to our pattern. It says, did our 17 stitches in color B. Now it says it wants 14 stitches in color A. So let me see if this is close enough to pull it over. I think it is. So this is my color A. I'm just going to pull it over, not too tight. If you do it this way, just make sure you have tension there, because you don't want that to be too tight, because it will pull and you'll be able to see it. Alright, so 4 stitches in color A. 1, 2, 3, 'This is our 4th one. I gotta leave my 2 stitches on the hook. I mean the ending of that stitch on the hook. Let's see what our pattern says. Okay, our pattern says we did our 4 in color A. Now we're going to do 2 in color B. So I guess this is where you would add a bobbin. That's how you're doing it. And add 2 stitches. Oh, finish off this stitch. Wow. Okay, we finish off that stitch. Now we got to work 2 in color B. So go ahead and work your 2 in color B. That's 1. Work your second. Let's finish my second stitch in color B. Leave my 2 loops on the hook because I know I got to change colors. Alright, looking at our pattern again. We did the 2 in color B. Now it says to do 1 in color A. So this is probably where you would add another bobbin because you don't want to pull that over. So get your color A. Finish off that stitch and work your 1 stitch in color A by working your 3 double crochets. 1, 2, almost 3. We know it's just 1 stitch, so we can't finish that stitch. Looking back at our pattern again, it said 1 in A, now 16 in B. So this is where you'd probably add another bobbin because you can't pull this from here. So add another bobbin, finish off this stitch, and do your 16 in color B. Back down to the end of my row. I worked my 16 stitches in color B. I'm going to double crochet into my last chain space. And I'm done with that row. Pull up on my loop just like I've done before. We're going to go back down to the beginning. Get our accent color that we've been working all of our chain twos and single crochets in. We're going to join it back right there, just like we have been. Slip stitch in a chain one. Chain one, two, skip your three, and single crochet in that space. And one, two, single crochet in that space. So that's what you're going to do. You're going to work your single crochet, chain two, after every row of your pattern. In between every row, you have to make this row for the place to put your stitches into. So once you finish this row, you'll break out your pattern again, and you'll follow it again, going backwards. Do your 16 in color B, 2 in A, and keep following it this way. Then after you complete that row, you do another row of what I guess could be called the anchor row. What's going to be holding your next row of stitches in there. So essentially you're working, even though this pattern is only 40 rows, you're actually working 80 rows because you have to work this row in between each actual pattern row. So that'll make our blanket actually bigger, which I guess is a good thing. Anyway, that's how you do the block stitch.